I'm gonna upload the other videos on YouTube. I know it's been some time, but yeah, let's do it. 45 minutes. Let's try to knock out 45 minutes. Let's see if we stick to 45 minutes. It really depends on you guys. You keep it interesting, this thing could go all night. Let's keep it squared away, guys. Moving forward. Let's see. Where are the interesting people at? Religiously interesting. The curious people. That's what we want. I don't want people regurgitating what they think they know about religion. Now, what you believe religiously doesn't have to really coincide with what your religion teaches, right? As long as you don't teach it as such. Like, say, this is what I believe. I have personal beliefs too, but I always make a distinction. All right, let's get these numbers high. High. Follow, like, and follow, like, and follow. The more you like in the show, the more TikTok shares it. So let's do it. Shalom, shalom. So like we do every day now, lately, boy. Anyways, that's the topic. Prove me wrong. But yeah, I always tell people, don't make religion your life. Have different hobbies. Don't put all your spiritual, mystical apples in the same basket. So you have somewhere to go and that part of your life frustrates you. Okay. Let's see. Right of return to Israel too. What does that mean? Right of return to Israel. That's politics in terms of right of return. Jews have no right to the land of Israel unless they're religious. The state of Israel, it's a secular country. They can do whatever the heck they want. But this is a religious show. Okay, I still like feeling like being under the grace versus law. You know, I spoke about this briefly once, the notion of grace. What's the Hebrew word for grace? I think it's the word chen. It's almost like a right. Grace is something we give our kids. There's a certain level of tolerance we have for things that didn't ask to be born. So we deserve grace. Just from an ethical perspective. If God's our Father, we didn't really choose to exist. That means it means He gives us a benefit of the doubt till He chooses not to. But that's what Christians call grace, because Christians believe that from the beginning we were destined to die. It doesn't make any sense. You weren't asked to be born. How can you be destined to die? Anyways, guys, let's talk about it. I was told I couldn't convert due to heritage. What does that even mean? You could only convert if you're born Jewish? If you're born Jewish, you don't need to convert. Yeah, no, you could convert. So, yeah, go to your local synagogue. And, yeah, now most people don't live near a synagogue, so then that's a little bit of a problem. Yeah, no, but you could convert. Are you Orthodox? If so, what sect? I am Orthodox. What sect? Modern Orthodox? Yeah. Most Orthodox Jews don't identify as a sect. I guess I don't know. I guess if you're Chabad, you'll say you're Chabad. But if you're Orthodox outside of that, you just say you're Orthodox. Why some books like Torah is more reliable than others? Why some books like Torah? I don't know what you're talking about. I was born of European heritage. I was told I couldn't. That's nonsense. I'm not sure. Maybe some Muslim told you that. But a Jewish person could not have told you that because it's part of our religion. Conversion is part of our religion. There's no way. Unless you possibly went to some Syrian synagogue, and then they'll tell you, yes, you could convert, just not by us. All right. Welcome, Reuven, my friend. Let's see. Boy, these screen names. Look at this. What's it? Fat bastard. Huh. Nice screen name. Okay. Guys, keep it coming. Let's do it. Bring the Muslims on here. You know, for some reason, Muslims are so shocked to be challenged theologically on TikTok, right? They're like, we got this, but they never dialogue with a Jew, so give this Jew a try. My name is Robert. I used to live in Montreal. Oh, I live in Miami. Okay, there's no hell. What is there? I never said there's no hell. I just said that the Torah doesn't talk about a hell, which basically tells us to focus on this world first. Amen. Judaism is better. Okay, praise Jesus. That's what he wrote. How can I become Jewish? By going through a formal conversion process. That's how one becomes Jewish. I'm Jewish and black. Okay, that's good. We have the first guest of the night. I'm not familiar with this, but not tonight, obviously. Welcome.
Give us all of your money.
The Jew money.
Give us all of your money.
You mean the Jew gold?
Yeah,
So where do you live?
Africa.
Africa. Beautiful. And there's some nice parts of Africa, and there's some less nice parts. But yeah, I've been there. I've been to Africa. You guess
Do you
where?
think what?
Guess what part of Africa I went to?
South Africa.
That's it.
Do you think saying Jews own the media is offensive?
That Jews own the media? Well,
Good
Or a small
evening.
group?
is it factual? Like, I'm pretty sure that when you say Jews own the media, what you're basically saying is that Jews are disproportionately represented in the media, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's accurate. That's accurate. I mean, some Jews get offended at anything, but I think there has to be more than just that statement. Okay, Jews are disproportionately represented, and what? It's not religious Jews, by the way. It's not my group. It's like left-wing atheistical Jews. So I don't think they speak for us. But we have to make that clear, lest we begin to suffer for their bad decisions and their bad actions, which is what happens. It's always people who look Jewish or who proclaim to be religiously Jewish who suffer for the sins of these secular people, i.e. when they screw it up with the rest of the world comes to us like we care about left-wing politics and controlling the media. Now, I do want to control the media, by the way, but to push my agenda.
All right.
Yeah. I'm sure you two, you'd rather also push your agenda also. I mean, I prefer influence to power. So if I could influence the world to be a better place, look, by the simple fact that I'm welcoming you to become Jewish, it shows that I'm not separating the world between Jew and Gentile, but between decent people and non-decent people. So,
Hey, I was adopted.
all right. And
My name is Robert. I was born in the Jewish General Hospital in in Montreal. Sorry.
okay.
I was bought for $500. That sort of stirs something up.
Is that the going rate? I mean, I don't know what a baby costs.
No, it was $500 in 1959.
Oh, so it's probably like 4,000 today.
Whatever. So do you believe me or not?
Oh, I mean, believe what? I mean, some
Okay,
people are stolen from the hospital.
I had to get dunked in I don't know, it was not a temple, but it was some sort of shrine, like a Jewish thing there. I got dunked and I was pronounced Jewish.
Beautiful.
I'm not lying to you. I'm telling
No,
you the
that's
truth.
fine. No, this is possible.
It
We
is
could convert
possible
babies
because
pretty
I
easily.
was there
Yeah, yeah.
and the
You know,
rabbi blessed me and then I can have my bar mitzvah at 13.
yeah. You don't have to convince me you're Jewish. I mean, I believe it. What's there not
No,
to
because
believe?
a lot of people are shitheads out there. It's TikTok, remember?
Yeah, but I don't care. I don't care about people identifying as Jewish. The average person who identifies as Jewish typically doesn't act very religiously Jewish. I want people to act Jewish. That's what I mean. So telling me you're Jewish or anyone, have you seen these people in these like Israel Palestine debates? The average person, well, it's interesting that on the Israel side, it's typically all secular atheistical individuals, and on the Palestinian side, most of them are religious. So it's kind of embarrassing who I see defending the Jewish people. I rarely see religious people arguing for the sake of Israel. I'm not saying that religious people don't believe in the state of Israel. I believe in the state of Israel. I'm not a religious Zionist, but I am some sort of a secular Zionist. But yes, only because someone is Jewish doesn't mean that they're special intrinsically in any way.
Okay, because I don't really follow the religion. I used to live in Montreal, but now I live in Lachute,
All right, so
Quebec.
fix it. So fix it.
Well, I have a house here and I don't leave it.
So fix it. So why'd you come on the show? I mean, this is a religious show. I
I
don't care if
know,
you're
but I
Jewish.
just want to say, like, I'm Jewish and I'm proud of being Jewish.
Oh, well, that's a very bigoted and disgusting statement. The idea
Why?
that someone's proud of what you, if you're proud of something that you've done nothing to attain, there's no merit in that. People are proud of things they achieve. If if a black man comes up here and says, "I'm proud to be black," I'm like, well, did you have a choice in it? You know? Now, if you chose, okay, if you say, "I'm proud to be religiously Jewish," then that's something else. Or religiously Christian or religiously Muslim because you're struggling with your nature every day. That's merit. But proud to be Jewish? I know Jews get away with a lot, and that's something they get away with that people don't check them on. It sounds morally idiotic to say that you're proud just to be ethnically Jewish. Okay, I mean it's silly.
You have your opinion.
Okay, I'm just saying if any other group would espouse such a sentiment, well, they would probably properly be called bigoted.
Well, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry.
All right, no problem. You're welcome, Avi.
Hi, Asher. How are you?
Hi. What's up, bro?
It's good. I have a question. First of all, what topic were you guys on? I just hopped on. I don't want to intrude on
Oh
in
no,
the
the topic's up
conversation.
there. Here, this isn't a political show, you know. Like we
Yeah,
discuss
of course.
religion and philosophy and just what I like to consider deep thoughts.
Baruch Hashem. That's good.
Yeah.
Anyways, there was this guy I was on a live with. You know those they talk about Israel Palestine and obviously growing up I learned about the Beit HaMikdash and what we've been through. And he was saying that there's no proof that the Al Aqsa came after the Beit Hamikdash, but obviously we know what we know based off what the Torah says and all of this. But is there something that you can say or prove aside from like archaeological, articles that we see and things that they've dug up or whatever? Like they were trying to say that there's no proof that it happened. I don't know if that's
I
getting
don't know
too
what
political, but
I'm not sure what they're trying to say, right? So there's the Al-Aqsa and the Mosque of Omar are two different things. I mean, they're next to each other, and sometimes they get confused. So Al-Aqsa is the Dome of the Rock, correct?
I mean, I think it's a mosque, no, where in Israel in Jerusalem
So
with the gold.
it's technically a shrine. Next to it is where they actually daven or whatever, pray.
Yeah.
Like now, some people pray in the Dome of the Rock, but it's not. It was typically a tourist site, and it's a shrine because it's called the Dome of the Rock because there's a rock there, a stone that they claim was where the Garden of Eden was, where or like from their perspective, Ishmael was sacrificed. Yeah, so that's why it's called the Dome of the Rock. But next to it is the actual mosque. Now, they're claiming that there's no proof. I mean, is this a Muslim claiming this? You know, because I mean, Muslims do acknowledge that there was a temple there before. I mean, they believe in Jesus. They believe that the stories of
Yeah, I mean, he was saying like, I was like, listen, like I could pull up like many articles and like picture proof, and they were like, just because there's proof doesn't mean it's proof. I don't.
don't
You
don't
know?
argue with people like that. I mean, some people on TikTok are just not worth dialoguing with, just because.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Yeah,
about having an open-minded conversation without the ego,
yeah.
right? Like,
I don't walk around saying that I have proof that Moses existed or David existed, but I don't think anyone denies that there was a temple up there. There's something called the temple, the tunnel tours, that you go under the temple where the actual base was, because real Jerusalem is around 30 feet before it. It depends. I think in the time of King Solomon, it's 30 feet before. In the time of Jesus, it's around 15 feet before. Like there's this road in Jerusalem called the Cardo. That's this Roman market where Jesus would have walked, and it's around 15 feet below, the old city level.
yeah.
But I don't think anyone denies that a temple was there. That's historical. There's many other civilizations that spoke about it. But yeah, especially the second temple. So don't worry about You don't have to give responses to silly people. That's kind of far fetched.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like, I don't know if it's obviously I'm not the most intellectual person when it comes to the whole like conflict and all that.
Yeah.
But I studied the Torah, right? So like he was also like, there's no proof of Bereshit, Exodus, and
Well, that's somewhat true. That's somewhat true. I mean, the most they have, first of all, we're not even sure exactly where the crossing was because, I mean, it's not the Red Sea for sure. In Hebrew, it says Yam Suf. So it's like the Sea of Reeds. So yeah, it's faith. Yeah, we have to be honest that we don't have proof of that. There's like a chariot wheel here that they found or there, but it's not actual proof that we were there. So yeah, we have to be honest for sure. But of course, if you would ask a Muslim for, proof, I mean, he'll say, "Oh, it's factual that Muhammad received some sort of revelation in the cave or mountain or whatever." So they don't play with equal scales. But we always have to remain honest because truth is a value to us, even though it doesn't make us look good. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm still going to challenge them via dialogue. So yeah, when someone doesn't know anything about a conversation, that you don't know who's right and who's wrong, the most you could do is rely on who you think is telling the truth. Just take one or two things the person says and research it. And if the person exaggerates or lies about those things, it's more likely that person's lying about other things as well. The average person who's typically arguing for the wrong side typically doesn't hold truth as a value. However, if you see someone acknowledging that his position is not perfect, but makes an attempt to discuss it logically and truthfully, 9 out of 10 times that person's telling the truth. So it's not like most people don't think like this. If it bleeds, it leads. The person who yells more, the person who talks more, people automatically think they're winning. But it's because they've checked their brains at the door. They're not really trying to grow. And I've seen that in most of my discussions. Most of my discussions that the people are just lying after lying after lying. I mean, I just tell people, you could trust what he's saying, but always verify it. And that's how you know who's lying or who's like peddling the wrong position.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Shabbat? Is this something like you practice or like do it in your own way or?
No, it's understood as the most important mitzvah. Like God says that above all, like Shabbat, you shall keep. Now, does that make perfect sense to me? No, it doesn't make perfect sense to me. I mean, the rabbis justified in the sense that when someone keeps Shabbos, it's like saying that you're acknowledging that God created the world. Because we keep Shabbat for two reasons. One of the reasons is because God says that he created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. So just like he labored for 6 days and rested on the seventh, so should we. And then the other reason is because we were slaves in Egypt, whatever that means. So, we for sure got to keep Shabbat. There's more lenient ways to keep it than not. And there's many Haredim that do this also, like they'll leave the TV on or something.
But I feel like that's just when you're getting into those technicalities, you're just kind of contradicting things, like either do it or not, because obviously fundamentals of Judaism are based on intention, right? So like
I don't know. That we belong to a legal system. So if for some reason work is not what's prohibited on Shabbat, what's prohibited is malacha. So malacha has been understood to mean creative labor and broke it down into 39 categories of labor that's prohibited. So if what you're doing is not prohibited in one of those 39 categories or subcategories, because they have something called todos and avos, then it's technically allowed. And that goes for riding bike on Shabbat, with the Ben Ish Chai said you could do, right? I mean, in case you don't like walking to shul, ride a bike on Shabbos. Some rabbis, even allow electricity. And I'm talking about like Orthodox rabbis. I think it was the Rabbi Wallenberg, like the head rabbi of Shaare Zedek. I mean, he's dead now. They would allow for electricity. There's, people don't understand that it was the Chazon Ish that was the first one to usher electricity. Before that, Orthodox Jews used to use it. So people just have to know their history. But I mean, Shabbos doesn't have to be a miserable day. There's things you could do to make it more joyful. Like only because some primitive rabbi tells you that you have to keep Shabbat the way he keeps it, it's up to you to research if what you want to do is actually prohibited.
Have you heard of
Shalom, Rabbi? Shalom.
What?
I was saying, have you ever heard of Yosef Mizrahi?
Yeah, so he's
very extreme. I read one of his books.
I'm not saying that he makes anything up, by the way.
No, of course.
Well, there's a lot of ambiguous ideas in Judaism, and it's up to you to pick.
But he was saying
more stringent side, or the less stringent side. So he appeals to a certain audience. some people want to be scared into being religious because this whole thing, him and Yaron Reuven, is all about hell and spilling seed
Yeah,
and
he was talking about like if you don't keep Shabbat, you're automatically going to get, no
Yeah.
room for you.
I
yeah.
You know?
I think he just want to seach la Torah. That's what he want to do.
So
Not
And
scare
he was also
people, but
talking about like how like you have two options in a woman. One woman that's gonna be have a lot of like beauty on the outside but not have much substance to her on the inside. Or the other option is you're gonna have a woman that has a lot of beauty on the inside and no beauty on the
Mhm.
outside. And you have those two options and I'm like, I just don't agree with that. It depends on I'm very big believer in attracting the right person into your life through your actions and like your
Mhm.
mindset and call it manifestation or whatever. But I honestly do not agree with like him saying that you only have two options in life of meeting either X or Y, and like I just feel like it was very extremist the way he was talking about like, oh, if you don't keep Shabbat, like you're automatically not
wait,
gonna,
wait.
you
So
know
he's basically saying that all
Yeah,
attractive people are sinners, or what?
what?
He's basically saying that all attractive people are sinners, or are
Yeah,
not
I
worth
mean, like you could
marrying.
look at it in multiple perspectives, but it was more so
No,
like, oh, if you meet a beautiful woman, she's not going to be a wife material. You know
that
what I
sounds
mean?
like a simp to me.
Like
That's something that a loser
exactly.
would
yeah.
say. No,
Look,
it's true. I
look.
don't
I
hear
think
Andrew Tate talking like
what
that.
Both of those
I think
guys,
what he
you
want to
know,
I think what he want to do is just seach la Torah, just to make the fences of the Torah to be not violated.
No, still,
That's only that.
yeah, but he's not allowed to do that. Like from an authoritative perspective, like only Chazal could do that.
yeah. Plus, both of those guys, the Yossi Mizrahi and Yaron Reuven, they're like those, what they remind me of are like these extremist Baptist preachers that go on TV and scare everybody with burning in hell if you don't repent. That's exactly what they sound like.
Yeah, and I'm never going to accuse them of making stuff up. Everything they say, there's a source for, but
Yeah,
everything I say,
Yes,
there's a source for also.
exactly.
So
but
it's up to you to choose what path you want to follow. However, when people choose to follow my path, they call it false and fake Judaism. I don't call what they teach fake. I just consider it extreme. So the Rambam in this case says, follow the middle path. I mean, don't be such a fanatic.
Hmm.
But the problem is when you become a fanatic is that your children and your wife suffers. Because it
Yeah.
only really appeases you. But I mean, most people can't keep up with the stupidity. But,
I
Yeah.
honestly, I'm like such a devil's advocate when it comes to Judaism, being Jewish, growing up in like an Orthodox school, but then like kind of not say like rebellion, but like kind of becoming more or less religious as I, became older and like had more self-awareness and just traveled and understood more cultures and all that. But like for example, it says the Jews are the chosen people, right? Like when Moshe came and he showed the Ten Commandments and he showed the Torah like in front of X
Mhm.
amount of people. There were the people that accepted it and there were people that rejected it. And I asked my uncle because he practices day in day out. He's in like Kollel and all that, and I was like, don't you think it's a bit egotistical and kind of putting Jews on a pedestal to say that we're the chosen people and that we're like kind of more important than everybody else? And like his response was, he was like, yes, we are the chosen people. He didn't say that yes in regards to the egotistical standpoint, but more so in a sense of like everybody in the world had the opportunity to follow it and they rejected it. So whoever derived from that today came from that like those type of people. And I was like, how can you say that? Because let's say for example you're like, oh, it's not something to be proud of, like, oh, I'm a Jew. It's not an accomplishment. You just became that person. You were brought up like that way. You were born into it.
I don't know. I don't agree with that approach that I've chosen, that you're like special chosen. I think the chosen meant that we're chosen to be the messenger, to deliver a message. That's what the chosen means. That we got a message, we got to deliver a message. If you don't deliver a message, then you're chosen for nothing. You failed in your job.
Okay, so but let's dismember this idea here of chosenness. What your uncle mentioned a midrash that the Torah was offered to all the nations of the world and only Israel accepted it. This appears nowhere in the Torah, by the
Yes.
way. This
Nasa
is a tale.
manisma.
What are you talking about? I mean, this guy's just uttering Hebrew words.
Anyways, continue.
nowhere in the Torah does it say that God even like spoke the Torah in 70 languages. This is all midrashim. What does the Torah say? Okay, the word chosen, the word in Hebrew for chosen is bachar. It really means in that context appointed, and it's not choosing blindly, because God didn't choose Abraham. If you read the text, it's Abraham who chose God. You don't choose someone blindly and then test them 10 times to see like if they'll fail. And I'm not a big fan of the Zohar, but this is exactly what the Zohar says. I mean, the Zohar says that it was Abraham who chose God. The idea is that God speaks to everybody. The reason Abraham was special is because he heard the message and he picked up from where he was and he went to where God wanted him to be. But it was Abraham who did the choosing. That means if Abraham didn't stop and listen to the voice of God, then he wouldn't be our great patriarch, or father of the faith. So it's this misconception not built on the Torah. And on Mount Sinai, the Torah wasn't given to the Jews. The Torah was given to whoever was willing to accept it. Because on Mount Sinai, there was a mixed multitude, the Erev Rav and the born Jews. So I don't know what religion they're teaching. See, the problem is when you don't make a distinction between Rashi and the Pashat, like what literally appears there, when you start thinking that the Midrash is the Pashat. So they're like, oh, well, I mean, it says that he offered the Torah to the whole nation and they refused it. And the Torah doesn't say that. I mean, the Torah doesn't separate the world between Israelite and Gentile, but between people who keep the Torah and people who don't keep the Torah. And the vast majority of Jews, even according to the rabbis, stayed behind in Egypt, right? I mean, Pesach just passed, and what do we tell the evil son? We tell him that if you were in Egypt, you wouldn't have been redeemed. So this idea that because you're Jewish, you deserve special treatment doesn't appear in the Torah.
Yeah.
So of course, I mean, I don't blame you, because I don't blame people like for going what they call OTD, like off the derech, because what's their big choice nowadays? I mean, honestly, I mean, it's either Chabad or Reform, right? Those aren't valid choices.
I'm Moroccan, I'm Sephardic, so it's very like traditional, like lenient vibes, it's not like Hasidim or like heavy, like other whatever sides of the religion. So it's kind of, I feel like being Sephardic is somewhat easier in certain aspects. Like, cause like what in certain communities, like I feel like there's a lot of Sephardic communities. I don't know how it is in Europe or the States or certain areas, but the communities it's very easy to pass Shabbat, because everybody's with each other. They chill with each other. Like they're always going to each other's house, having lunch, doing, Kiddush and then chilling. But like, for a lot of people that are not like have strong communities and they have to have Shabbat by themselves, it's very hard to like keep the Shabbat, and it's very hard to be religious and do all these, keep certain things, because people get bored and they they don't want to do certain things, and it's not fulfilling to them, because they feel like they do it because they have to, and it says it, otherwise they're gonna go to Gehinnom if they don't.
Yeah, that's the point of living in a religious community. I mean, that's the only point, really. Like not spending your days alone, because if you go daven every day, I mean, some people need to be around people. I'm more of an introvert. I get it. I mean, even like when I go to shul on Shabbos, I'll bring a book, like just to read, like during the prayers that I don't feel like saying, which are not obligatory. I would say like 80% of the prayers that said over Shabbos nowadays, probably 70%, aren't part of halakha.
And it's funny because most of the people that are reading the Siddur during like the prayers, like they don't even understand what they're reading. They just read it because to read it, And I'm like,
also,
I need to read something to understand it, and they read it fast,
Yeah, well, they read it too fast, so there's no
especially
way.
in like Lubavitch and Chabad.
Right.
Like,
so most people don't know that even like the Torah reading, in Torah times, it was done every 3 years. It wasn't done every 1 year. And we should go back to that, because by the simple fact that we're trying to finish the Torah in 1 year, it makes you fly through it and not even understand what you're talking about. If you would split the same parsha into 3 portions, i.e. within 3 years, that means that you could read the whole Torah on Shabbos in probably 10 minutes and probably absorb it more than flying through it. Not to mention all the kaddishes that they throw in there, korbanos, like things that have nothing to do with the actual prayers. Well, they added this stuff. Now, Kaddish is part of the actual prayers, but not Kaddish Shatum, like the more.
yeah, I mean, like that's like my main question. Then it's like, what do we have to do?
Kaddish to get their relatives out of hell. Oh, okay. So you've come to the right show. Okay, because
You know, like I put on
I
my
consider myself a
tefillin, I
purist.
do that, and like, you know, I'm a good
Yeah,
person.
yeah,
That's it. I do good by myself and good by others. That's it. I don't like do all this extra, like, you know,
All right, so davening in the morning shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes, honestly,
not
because
even.
the only
Yeah, spend
requirement.
like 5 minutes to be honest.
Oh well, I mean, if you do the fast Amidah,
No, I
and
don't
assuming
even
it's
do
not a day
that.
that you
I
have to
don't
read the
even do
Torah,
that. I
huh?
just put on my tefillin, I say the bracha, I say modeh, and then I say like my affirmations in English. You know.
Oh well, that
What about Ma?
that is. I mean, the tefillin is. I mean,
Yeah, and
has nothing
Shema,
to
of
do with. I
course.
mean, chakras, anyways. I mean, that's just something that you could do all the way till noontime. Well, not no. I mean, you can put on tefillin till Marv technically.
Yeah.
But like chakras is the Shema and the Amidah, and this has nothing to do with the brachas. But the brachas you only say when you're confronted with the opportunity to say it, because Ashkenazim started this practice of saying all the brachot in the morning. But it's just. I mean, it's a bracha levatala, like if you're not actually doing it. I mean, it's a blessing said in vain. Like if you're saying a blessing over the rooster crowing and you don't hear any rooster crowing, it's clearly a bracha levatala, right? But it became a
Yeah.
custom because they thought that, I don't know, like the more brachas you say, well, one, we do have an obligation to like say like 100 brachas every day. So
For
that's just a
what though?
quicker
For
way of.
what? Like, is it like spiritual currency that when we die we have it in heaven? I don't. You know.
So it
Like,
doesn't say. I mean, the rabbis just told us that there's an obligation. I mean, it's a rabbinic obligation. I mean, brachot in general aren't in the Torah. I mean, there's no blessing in the Torah. I mean, outside of your Kohanim when they duchen, when they, like the Kohen blesses you. But Judaism is not hard. Like davening nowadays is probably, it's probably 30% short. I mean, of what we do nowadays, all you really have to do is around 30% of it. And then, yeah, I mean, Judaism is pretty easy. I mean, if you cut out a lot of the Kabbalah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's your like main situation with the headline? Are you because it says in the Torah we're not supposed to try to like convert people, this and that. Like,
Where
is
does
it
it
kind
say
of
that?
just like
It doesn't
Where
say
does
that.
it get that in the Torah?
like a clickbait type to get them to like
No,
be
no, no,
open
no.
minded and like.
So nowhere
Where
in the
does it say it
Torah.
in the Torah?
So nowhere in the Torah or the Talmud or the Zohar or anywhere, what does it say that we're not supposed to try to convert people? Nowhere. And if it did say it, then I wouldn't do it.
So is that your goal? Is that like to get people to, get a real understanding and like ask questions and then
Yeah.
get
I
them
mean, I
to that
want more people to
process?
become Jewish. Wouldn't life be easier? I mean, even you're a single guy?
Yeah, I'm single.
All right. Well, so you'd have more women to choose from, like a
Of
nice
course.
Korean Jewish girl or
Oh
something.
my God, you get like exactly like it's so hard to, like you meet such good people and then it's like there's that like, oh, but she's not,
Yeah, I'm telling you. Or
Right.
your friends, let's say. Like if you wanted to come to Judaism, assuming you're about Tshuva, let's say, but you have your boys, and you can't even invite them to come with you to Judaism. Like, you want to go learn in Israel, but you want your friends to come, but they're not Jewish, but they're not welcome. Clearly, if we had more of a welcoming attitude, more Jews would want to become religious. Or you're dating a girl, let's say, and she's not Jewish, but she's interested a little bit, but you're doing tshuva, but she's not Jewish. Your rabbi will say that you can't be with that girl. Instead of saying like ask her like if she wants to convert.
Yeah,
So
but you shouldn't have to, she should have to convert for herself, not for someone else, right? Because
I don't think things work like that in this life.
I guess
When
because they
families
could
convert,
develop more knowledge as they show an interest, right? And like they might not know right away, but you persuading them could actually in turn result in them actually wanting to do it for themselves,
I mean that's
right?
beautiful. I mean it sounds beautiful, but that's not how things typically pan out, especially with
Yeah.
women. I think women want structure and they don't care, for the nonsense of sincerity, this and that. But they want a man to lead them and just give them some religion. That women typically become more religious than the men they end up converting for. Okay, this idea that someone shouldn't be allowed to convert unless they're fully sincere. When a family does tshuva or a family converts, you're telling me that whole family is equally sincere? No, someone's following someone else because they trust that person. So yeah, look at Steven Spielberg's wife. She converted to him, and now she's Orthodox and he's not. 9 out of 10 times, that's typically
Somebody's mic is like going crazy.
that's your mic, right? Or whose mic is that?
No, it's not mine. I don't know. Maybe this Reuben person.
I'm not making any sounds, but I hear somebody else's sound. That's weird.
Anyways,
Weird. Yeah. So, although it's not ideal that someone converts for marriage, I don't think it's a bad idea. It is a problem when a man converts for a girl, but when a girl converts for a guy, I think, I mean, if she truly trusts him, because you can't expect everyone to be like this big gadol or to understand Torah so perfectly. Some people just trust the other person and say, look, if I'm going to trust you to be my husband, right, in the physical realm, I'm going to trust you in the spiritual realm also. Why is that so far-fetched?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
If a woman is supposed to put her trust in her husband on a daily level in everyday life for physical matters, why shouldn't she be expected to put her trust for spiritual things as well?
She should.
Yeah, so like if the guy knows religion and she doesn't, and wants to slowly educate her and nudge her in the right direction, why is that a bad thing if she ends up converting to Judaism because of what he did for her?
No, like I'm on your side. I'm just like kind of being that devil's advocate based on what I've been taught my whole life, and like I
All right,
think
so I'll tell you that
had
nowhere
the
in the
wrong.
Talmud, what does it say that you can't convert for marriage. As a matter of fact, there's a story of Rabbi Akiva. He was having, I don't know, it sounds like an affair with this lady who was married to a Roman general. What's his name? Trufius, something else. And then he says, because she wanted to leave her husband and be with him, and then like he tells her, I can't be with you unless you convert. So clearly, I mean, she could convert for marriage. The Rambam specifically says you could convert for marriage. There's a tshuva of the Rambam, but that they asked him, what do you do with a man who has gotten into an affair with his non-Jewish maid? Should we kick him out of the synagogue? And he said, no. They should be married and live in peace. I mean, it's a common thing. Jews, when they would travel, when they would settle in a place with non-Jewish women, convert them to Judaism and build a family. Only nowadays we want to make it so difficult to convert that we're saying if a woman in any way has any attraction to a man while she's looking for a path in life, but not just a husband, then we can't accept her, like if she's not dating while she comes. You know how silly it is to expect someone to wait 1, 2, 3 years without dating because you're not allowed to date when you're converting. It's a lot to risk, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. What about when you marry, like, let's say, for example, like an extremity, like you're Jewish, you marry like, an Orthodox Christian or a Muslim, and like, she converts, she does her thing, now she's Jewish, but then like when it comes to doing Shabbat and having the family over, it's just mixed culture, and like there's like that tension between like, oh, my daughter converted for you, like this is not our path, she went against us, but then like you being the Jewish person and like having such a welcoming family and like being like open arms, like they could come for Shabbat, why not let them experience it, but then like, you know what I mean, like there's just that tension between like her side of the family,
Yeah, I
none
think
of
you're
them
gonna
are
have
gonna
beef with your
convert.
mother-in-law either way, so I mean, don't let them push you around. No, there's
But
no
like,
that.
you know what
I
I mean,
mean,
it's like in a perfect world, right? Like it's
yeah, I mean, who gives a
not the
crap
way.
what they think? Yeah, I mean, if they don't respect you in your house and they start calling you out and trying you and flexing in front of your wife, well, then you kick them out. Yeah,
But
this
it's not
should be.
even really that. It's not even that. It's kind of like we're not gonna really associate with that side of the family because they're not really open minded and they have like their own concepts,
It's typically not an issue. Like most people who convert to Judaism and their family is Christian, the average Christian is very respectful towards it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's not like you're robbing banks or smoking crack, right? I mean, you're choosing to become religious. Yeah, I'm sure it's typically not an issue. Like, I mean, for my family, it wasn't an issue. I converted, and my family's Christian.
Oh, you're not. You weren't born Jewish?
No. I
Oh
converted like
wow.
25 years ago.
Wow. What made you want to convert?
A gefilte fish, with the crane.
Yeah,
Did
but
I
like,
say it
what
right,
what
Ruben?
made you like? What
With
made
the
you
crane?
like? I'm gonna like pursue this and.
No, I didn't convert for Jewish people, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
If it was for the Jewish people, I'd probably be an anti-Semite. Because no, for real, they're not an impressive bunch.
Exactly. Yeah,
Um,
of course.
I
That's why
converted because
I
of the
feel like
Torah.
that's a big stem as to why there's so much hate, aside from like all the, the jealousy. But
Oh, I don't know
um
about the jealousy. I don't think most
well,
people
yeah,
are
you
jealous.
look at what Jews have, how they've prospered through all these years and all the accomplishments and all the things, and they're like, how can they still not be an annihilated people yet, right?
It's not religious Jews, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, religious Jews aren't winning Nobel Prizes typically. It's atheistical Jews, and it's not all Jews. I mean, it's Ashkenazi Jews. It's not Sephardi Jews. So I mean, it's very selective. With this whole notion that people are jealous, what one thing that would help with the anti-Semitism is having an open door policy, letting people know, oh, you think that I think I'm special because I'm Jewish? If I'm so special and so proud of just being, like holding the idea that because I exist, I deserve, why am I welcoming you to join me? It's that step that builds resentment.
Mm-hmm.
That by the simple fact that we walk around saying, which I disagree with, that we're an ethno religion, and that I'm Jewish and I could, and these
So you
Zionists,
disagree? You disagree that we're an ethno religion?
I I do disagree. I believe that Judaism is not an ethno religion. However, there is an ethnic component to the Jewish people. That's something different. Being that religion has to do with God, it doesn't matter who your mother happens to be. Your mother could be Jewish, but from a Torah perspective, if you don't keep Shabbat, if I mean, eat chametz on Pesach, it says that
Then
you're
you're not
like
considered a
you're
Jew?
cut off. Now you're still Jewish, but you're
But why?
halakhically
Why?
Jewish.
Because your ancestors come from the land
But
of, but there's no substance towards it if you're cut off and you're not doing these things.
obviously,
You know?
doesn't Amalek also come from Avraham and Yitzhak?
Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah. Or Edom. I mean, Edom is the son of Yitzhak. No one walks around saying the Edomites are in some way in a covenant with God when Isaac is the son of the covenant. Why? Because they didn't follow the covenant. But only when nowadays you have people in these Israel-Palestine debates that almost 9 out of the 10 individuals arguing for the sake of Israel are atheistical. What the heck do they have to say regarding having some sort of claim to the Holy Land? They're not
Yeah.
holy. Now I support Israel, but I'm not
I
going to
think it's a
support it.
pride thing.
Yeah, but that's not how they present it. But they'll use religious arguments and they'll butcher the heck out of them, and they're arguing with a religious Muslim. So how can a secular person make religious arguments against a religious person? Now, I believe the land belongs to whoever fights for it and keeps it, okay? Because the Torah says that the land only belongs to people who keep Torah. So honestly, I mean, what am I going to do with a bunch of artsy or secular Jews, right? Fine. So I don't enter in those debates, but it's silly that when there's always like a gay person or a trans person in there like arguing for our cause when I don't know, the Bible doesn't really speak so favorable for that position. I'm not, well, like I said, I support Israel like for secular reasons. I mean, just like I
No,
support
I
England
agree
and I
with you.
support India, and I support Russia, by the way, because I'm not on the Ukrainian side. But that doesn't mean I believe that it's the resurrection of biblical Israel.
Mm-hmm. So, what about, okay, let's say you have a person, right? And they're an amazing person. They do well by themselves. They do good by others. They're just an absolute beautiful, amazing individual that has, sought out for wisdom their whole life and always strive to like understand God and just, be a great person, not having any religion, just somebody that's very spiritual and, like the whole like universe, all that, and isn't Jewish. Like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with like, why can't they just do that? Like, why does the Torah say all these things and like, oh, if you don't do that, then this is gonna happen. If you do that, this is gonna happen. Like, why should they have less of a right than any other? Because I can say that there's a much better person than, even though this guy is in shul all day learning Torah, outside of the synagogue, he's a racist person. He doesn't respect his mom. Like, he's not, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just
Right.
not. He doesn't have proper qualities. But then you have this guy who's a very spiritual person, like he has nothing to do with any religion. He doesn't claim any religion, but he's a great person. He does well for his society. He gives back. He does mitzvot in his own way. He's a very
Yeah.
respectful person.
No,
He's
I hear
very
you. I hear you. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I wouldn't use the word spiritual because I don't think that dictates behavior. But if the person's an ethical person, like there's some beautiful atheistical individuals and there's some garbage Orthodox Haredi Jews. Okay. I mean, everyone's a mixed bag. However, if I would have to put my money on one of them uh, to do more good on this planet than the other, I'd always bet on someone who submits himself to some immovable ethical standard. What you're describing is a hypothetical situation that rarely occurs. And if it does occur, it's typically because that person grew up religious somehow and just dropped it and feels that he could become an ethical or humanist, an ethical atheist or a humanist, right? But it's kind of hard to really do the right thing on this planet when everything is subjective and everything is limited to how you feel that day. Meaning, you understand what I'm saying? With this woke movement, socialism, communism, these are essentially atheistical pursuits that try to reinvent the wheel ethically, and they just leave a trail of blood and carnage.
Yeah.
So I wish that man could figure it out on their own. And this is what I think the story of Adam and Eve was trying to teach us, that man's attempt to eat from the fruit was man's attempt to decipher what was right and wrong without the help of God. And God let him do it. This is why from Genesis chapter 3 to Exodus chapter 20 is just people making the stupid mistakes over and over again because they have no Torah. However, I believe the prophecy in Genesis chapter 3 was fulfilled on Har Sinai when we received the Torah. Because, I mean, the rabbis teach that the snake was the evil inclination, i.e. that thought in our mind telling us that we don't need God to be ethical. And then God said that next time this snake is going to strike again, but I'm going to equip you to be able to crush its head because I'm going to give you the standards, the laws once and for all, so you don't have to decipher on your own what's the right path in life. So,
but doesn't that go against free will?
What?
Like telling you that you don't have to decipher, but like then you're going back to what's right and wrong. But then how do you know what's right and wrong if you don't have like
No.
You know?
You can't forbid something or allow it unless you have the freedom to not keep that law. You understand? That means God gave you a standard there. I mean, you don't have to keep it. I mean, it's up to you. You could walk away. I believe everyone is born with a basic sense of morality. I don't believe the Bible is there to make you good or the Torah is there to make you good. I think it's there to make you better. You're born with, like
to
you
achieve
said,
like your highest self.
Yeah.
Just to achieve it, yeah.
This is why there's religious people who come to Torah, but who are crappy people to begin with, and their religiosity looks crappy. But if you're a decent, sincere person, and you come to Torah, the Torah just polishes you up, and you'll shine just so much more. So this is why that basic sense of morality is there to get you to some other better ethical system that's going to drag you the rest of the way. And that's what Torah is. The average person who doesn't believe in God, who walks around thinking that everything is an accident, that he's a piece of cosmic garbage, typically is not motivated to do great things on this planet.
Yeah, because they don't have any there's no substance, there's no meaning for them.
Now, are there exceptions to the rule? Absolutely. However, in the vast majority of cases, I think if you equip, let's say, a child with some sort of ethical standard, so they don't have to, like figure everything on their own out, I think that they end up living better lives. And that's the argument for being religious versus being secular.
Mm-hmm. Tell me if the Torah speaks about this. One time I was talking to this guy at the gym, and he was like, "You're Jewish, right?" Da da da. And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And he's like, if God is so good, then why is there evil in the world? And I said, what was my response to him? And I was like, I think like this is what I thought the answer was until I came to a contradiction myself. It was that it was good, and then God, men fell through the concept of free will. And then that's why there's all these bad things. But then it's like, if God is the Almighty and all powerful, and he knows the past, the present, and the future, like as if he's watching a movie that he's already seen, why does he allow for tragedies and all these bad things to happen? Like, why do they need to happen? What is the concept of like the balance of life, and these things need to happen? Why can't we just live in that world of like, you know?
Okay. So I don't believe that God knows the future. Mainly because it would contradict our free will. There's many rabbis who teach like this also. Maimonides is one of them. He says
So what, he allows himself not to like see into it, but isn't he like
No. I mean, what do you mean
anything?
allows? Like we're thrusting this upon God. But this is why they made up that statement, can God create a rock too big that he can't lift? Let's all these embellishments of what we think a sophisticated God would look like. Because all these arguments come from Aristotle and Plato, but they don't appear in the Torah. Nowhere in the Torah does God tell us to present him as limitless, as omnipotent, as omniscient. He says to present him as unique and good.
So isn't that implying that he's not limitless?
I think that God could be limited and still be God. Why? Because virtually every other God that people held as God was limited, and people still worshiped him as God. It's a problem because the people who say that God can't be limited in any way or he's not God will tell you, well, you can't even begin to understand how God functions or how he exists. But at the same time, they will build a wall of statements that you can't disagree with if you want to be part of their group. So they're telling you that they have already philosophically dissected God for you, right? I mean, I thought that God is too complex, so that we shouldn't use our arguments. In the Torah, it says that God changes his mind, that God regrets doing certain things. Abraham changes God's mind.
But that's a human construct.
No, hold on. But God being limited is a logical consistent. God being unlimited is logically inconsistent, because if you make statements like, can God create a square circle, or can God create a stone that he cannot lift, then you have to answer is no. And that's a limitation, but that's a normal logical limitation, because those questions are illogical. So God is limited by logic.
But
he's limited by the world, by the laws that he created.
So also, it's essentially semantics, because we're applying what we consider limited or not limited on how that we would on sort of earthly matters, on how it would relate to one of us. But if we don't know how God functions, why do we have the audacity to assume that he functions the way we do?
It's just you have to, like, I mean, the question is what the limits, right? But the limits have to exist inside of this world, because this is a limited world, right? If the God created a world that has limitations, then when he interacts in this world, that there should be limits also.
So I think when people toss all these embellishments on God, they're essentially worshiping a God that doesn't appear in the Torah, because they're saying all these things about God in spite of how he appears to us in the Torah. So what are we saying about God, and what are we saying about the Torah? That we know better, instead of just saying, like, you know what, I'm going to appreciate God for what he claims to bring to the table, and that's an ethical, moral standard. I'm not trying to dissect God, because this is the Islamic argument. I consider Muslims cannibalistic monotheists, right? They'll destroy other like-minded individuals over something so trivial on the supposed complexity of God. The person sitting across from them in the table could agree on almost every ethical issue, but if they're not convinced on some Platonic or Aristotelian argument towards God, they're considered evil and heretical. You know how silly? I mean, it just doesn't appear like that in the Torah. God doesn't tell us about his unity. He says he's one and what? That's it. Now, if someone wants to, what?
I was going to say, I think it's easier. We can just agree with like Rambam's approach and say that we shouldn't even bother discussing the nature of God, because it's
beyond our understanding.
Yeah, but that's not his approach. That's the problem. I mean, the Rambam said that anyone who tries to who goes against the criteria he lays down loses their share in the world to come. I mean, in terms of religious cancel culture, the Rambam started it. I mean, he wasn't of the opinion of like live and let live when it comes to like understanding what God is. I mean, the Rambam, for sure, I wish
I
but
mean, he
he's more
contradicts
open-minded and
himself
open-hearted.
sometimes. Yeah, he does that sometimes. He makes contradictions. But I from that prospect, I actually agree with him that it's a waste of time and effort to discuss nature of God. We should focus on other things.
Yeah, no, it's silly that we argue nowadays over stupid things. That whether it's with, I mean, it's specifically with Christians, because the beef is monotheism in terms of, well, the only thing that we have negatively to say about Christians, it's not about their behavior typically, it's on how they relate to God, and it's it's still the same God. Now, whether we break them up into 10 because Jews believe in the Sefirot and the Partsufim and the Atzilut and all these things that and Tzimtzum, which are all limitations of God, but suddenly Jews have a problem with the Trinity. I mean, let's use equal scales here. Okay. Yeah. When God presents himself in a contradictory manner of either knowing everything, but at the same time not knowing, in such a scenario, it behooves us to say that we also don't know. Well, let's not paint God in a way that he's not presented in the Torah. And that's where the verse that the secret things belong to God and only what he has revealed is for us and our children to do kicks in. That don't worry about stuff you don't understand. Worry about the stuff you do understand. And this is why Jews will argue day and night on how God is one and perfect, but at the same time will mistreat converts and commit like huge desecrations of God's name when it's an actual literal Torah command. So, that's the stupidity that I see, at least in the religious Jewish world. All right. Anyways.
That's what I mean. We have better things to focus on. It's like it's a waste of time and effort, and none of us are gonna know for sure which one is right and which one is wrong because none of us have ability to grasp the nature of God. So why are we even wasting time?
Yeah, no, but people say it's so matter of factly, mainly because they've begun to worship the rabbis. They think that if the Rambam said it, it's like God said it, right? But the Rambam many times contradicts himself with Tosfos, right? Tosfos says Christianity is not idolatry. The Rambam says it is idolatry. Who's right? But they both can't be right, right? So the person picks on who he wants to follow. But yeah, average Judaism today. Yeah, the noise is coming from your microphone, Ruben. That's for sure. You're right.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, can I ask what you define as the Jewish race? There's no such thing as a Jewish race. Here, well, let me invite this guy because I saw him in. He doesn't have enough followers, but then I didn't see him. Okay, fine. Oh, yeah, I'm using a lot of terms just for like the yeshivish people out there. But yes, long story short, stop dissecting God philosophically. Nowhere in the Talmud
Because you'll
either.
never really come to a conclusion, right?
Right. There were no definitive conclusion in terms of what God is and what God isn't. Just the Bible doesn't say. It's like God doesn't want us to know.
Baruch Hashem.
How about
welcome.
How did you feel before you were born? You
I
didn't
don't
feel
know.
anything, right? You didn't know,
right.
Or at least we don't remember, right? How that's not going to be the same thing when we die?
I sure hope not, but we ultimately don't know, obviously. But the rabbis do know,
Why don't they tell us?
They do tell us, but they contradict each other.
What do they say?
They
What's
don't know.
the
They think
contradiction?
they know. Those who know don't tell, and those who tell don't know. Whatever. Welcome, Abid Sayyid.
Yeah, I said Baruch Hashem.
Oh, that was you? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You said it like such a Jewish person. I thought.
Yeah, I know a lot of Jewish people. I've been to Shabbat dinner, and the thing is about Judaism that makes it unique. I don't know. It's weird because some Jews make it seem like your religion's like some exclusive club.
Right. So unfortunately.
And then it's like how. So then I think even if people were interested in converting or becoming, they're almost turned off by the fact they're like, I won't even be accepted even if I do like study it and learn it, right?
You'll be accepted as a Jew. It's rare that if someone, I'm not saying if I convert you, but if you convert with the Rabbanut, with the state of Israel, they'll accept you as a Jew, but they probably won't give you their daughter to marry. If that's like any.
But don't you think that goes back to what I was saying earlier? Because it's like now I'm the convert, but they won't allow it for specific reasons. Like, let's say, for example, like the rest of my family's not Jewish, so it's not like organic, it's not, like I'm the only one that became Jewish and everybody else isn't. So like that's
I
kind of
think that
stems from.
so the sentiment, the rabbinical sentiment, is that converts are on a higher level than born Jews, and born Jews will say that over and over again, but they won't act it out though. Which is why I think if you embellish any notion, it just builds resentment amongst people. So I just want converts to be treated the same. I don't want special treatment because it's all bullcrap. I mean, sometimes they embellish you to such a level that because they never met a convert, but when they do meet a convert, they're like, well, you're not so special. You're probably not a real convert. And then we get into this whole stupidity. Yeah, I'm not here promoting the Jewish people. I'm here promoting the Torah and halakha, which is the source of Judaism. Now,
but you see, people don't see that when they read your headline. They don't know that. They don't understand that.
yeah.
They jump to a conclusion and think like let's say, for example, when they say like being Jewish, and I don't know, I don't want to get into the whole Israel thing because there's a lot of, I don't want to speak upon things I'm not too super educated on, but they'll be like, oh, just because you hate Zionists doesn't mean you hate Jews. You know what I mean? But then like people say like, oh, the Jews believe in the whole concept as having, the right to their homeland, and like it's something that's been taught upon us and said in the Torah since like the beginning, and
Yes.
it's like, how can you say this and that when it's dependent on
So
each
I'll tell
other?
you, the vast majority of religious Jews don't hold that sentiment that Israel is the home of the Jewish people and all this stuff. A lot of Orthodox people support the state of Israel, but not from that perspective. They'll support it the way I support it. The
What
average
about
Orthodox
Mashiach when it
Jew,
says that we're all gonna group in Israel or something? When Mashiach comes.
but that's religious Israel. That's when we're redeemed, and it doesn't say that all the Jews are going to go to Israel, because there's no obligation for Jews.
What is it? We hop on a
to live in
flight
Israel.
and we go to Israel? I don't get it. We hear the shofar and we all take a flight? Like, how does it work?
No, that's like a legend or a tale. I mean, there's no law to live in Israel, according to the Torah. But the law is to visit Israel 3 times a year. That's it. Throughout Jewish history, the vast majority of Jews have always lived outside of Israel, like mainly because they don't want to, I don't know, like live with a bunch of crazy people. I'm sure Jerusalem syndrome existed back then as well. Right. And it's always been difficult to live in Israel. But no, I don't. You could technically convert to Judaism and not support the state of Israel. I mean, it's not such a big deal, right? Yeah.
Yeah, look at Satmar convert the most, and they are against Israel.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you consider yourself to be like Ashkenaz or Sephardic or something?
So I'm more Ashkenaz than anything. I like the Rambam, and he was Sephardic, but he's not really Sephardic. And I guess I'm going to piss people off with this. But Sephardic Judaism changed after Shabtai Tzvi. There was this rabbi who was considered the Messiah by probably the greatest scholar of his time, this guy named Nathan of Gaza. And he led the whole Jewish world into this idea that they could sell all their houses and everything because the kingdom of God is coming and all this stuff. And then at the end of the day, he ended up converting to Islam. And the Sephardic Jewish world, because he was Sephardic also, he was Turkish, I think, originally, but never really recovered. And wasn't the bastion of rationalism that existed in the time of the Rambam, like the golden age of Spain. It changed a lot. So nowadays, I think the most rational Jews are Ashkenazi Jews. Although they have a long way to go. Like Yekka Jews are less mystically inclined than Sephardic Jews. Sephardic Jews are very mystical, super mystical nowadays.
Yeah, like in my synagogue next to my house, like all the Sephardic Jews, like they're very into Kabbalah. So
yeah, and they're superstitious. They're like super superstitious. Well, Ashkenazi Jews are typically more educated. Most people, I'm Spanish. Like my family's from Colombia. I'm born in New Jersey, in Passaic, actually. This Jewish town that wasn't so Jewish when I was born there. But most people think that if you have darker skin, that Sephardic Judaism is probably better for you because they also have dark skin. Not true at all. Sephardic Jews are more closed than Ashkenazi Jews because Ashkenazi Jews are more westernized, right? So they're used to dialoguing with people who don't look like them. Sephardic Jews are very close. I mean, once they accept you, they'll love you.
Yeah.
Until they accept you, and if you're not fluent in Hebrew, they're probably not going to accept you.
Oh, I don't know about that though, because I'm French Moroccan and like we're all Sephardic. We're all from like, Tangier, Casablanca, and like we're very lenient. Like we don't give like we don't really don't care, but at the same time we keep it very, like if you're not but it's not even Judaism. It's more so like the way we think like my family and like my boys like we're very like if you're not our boy or you're not part like you didn't grow up with us or something like that or like we just met you, like we're not really going to be inclined to like not to say not accept you, but in a sense of like become one of our boys. But it's more so of a vibe and like the energy you give off. We don't really care about like,
Yo, think about it. Like all the black converts that we have in Israel.
Yeah.
Nissim Black, this guy Studemeyer, even Shine, right? And what circles did he roll with? Always Ashkenazim, never Sephardim. I mean, Sephardim will probably say, look at this Kushi over here. I mean, they're very. I'm just telling you. I mean, I've been in the Jewish world for 25 years. I lived in Israel for 5 years.
Kushi.
Black converts are more welcomed in the Ashkenazi world than in the Sephardic world. 100%.
I mean, we have a lot of black converts in our synagogue, and it's strictly Sephardic. It's not. There's no downstairs. There's like a Iraqi or Iranian shul, or they're like Bukharian, but upstairs in the main synagogue, like we have a lot of. It's strictly Sephardic prayers, and we have a lot of.
Where are you?
I'm in Toronto.
Toronto.
/LA.
/LA. Oh, are you back and forth?
Yeah, I'm back and forth just for work, but I like birthright is Toronto.
Thornhill? Is that where you are?
You know Thornhill?
That's what's up.
Near Thornhill, like North York. But have you been?
No, I played Jewish geography. I know people from all these communities.
Yeah. So like
I've been to every community except Toronto and Montreal. But in America, like all the from communities I've been to.
No, Toronto's very like I don't know how you say it. It's Maimonid. I don't know if you heard of that, but like the French Sephardim, there isn't much like Chabad or there's like maybe one or two synagogues, but it's mostly Sephardic, like French Moroccan. Like it's very because Montreal's not that big, right? And like the Jewish community is all in like a place called like Côte Saint Luc and Hampstead and stuff. So there isn't much. But back to what you were saying, like.
Yeah, Drake is from Toronto. I mean, he's Jewish and he's from Toronto. Right?
Yeah, he's from Toronto. He's jokes though. He always like incorporates Judaism in his music videos and stuff. Like he did. I was on set for one of his videos because one of my boys was directing it. It's called Falling Back, and he had a rabbi, in the chuppah, and he was marrying like 15 girls. So the concept was like.
I'd be that rabbi.
The concept was him like settling down, but then like when they were doing the vows, like they had a shot of like the girl and him, and then like it panned to like 20 girls behind him. It was so funny. But yeah, he had like I think he was like a Lubavitcher, but he was jokes. He was a real rabbi. I don't know how they found him. Like it's so random. But yeah, it's Toronto's a very lenient community when it comes to Judaism. Like majority of the Jews aren't really like religious. They're very like they're traditional, like they do Shabbat, but then like as soon as like lunch is over, like they'll call up their boys or like they'll turn on the TV, stuff like that,
Boys.
But
married?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm single. I'm 23.
Yeah, I thought you got boys and not girls.
Step it up. Like we mean like our boys, like our homies,
Yeah, I know. No, but Jews have a problem with dating. It's like you have to push Jewish guys to want to get married. You
know what my problem is? I'm like, I love to travel, and it's hard to meet like Jewish girls, and like the Jewish girls that I've like came across, just it's like what I said with Mizrahi, like like the girls, they're not like the most good-looking women. Like the most beautiful women I've seen are either like European or like.
All right.
All
right. You speak the truth, my friend. You speak the truth. Well, I was watching a Jordan and Peele episode of like the two Arabs. Well, anyways, like you speak the truth. Yeah, no, there's something called a.
You know what I mean, though? Like I feel like they're all just, like majority of them are just not like.
Yeah, yeah. It's not. I know a lot of Jewish women are gonna get very upset like at hearing this, but it's not so much, honestly, it's not so much in how they look, it's the way they are. Jewish women are extremely difficult to get along with, and they treat their men like crap. No, it's true. Most Jewish women do not respect men, especially Israelis. Israeli women, I don't know if it's military service. It's most likely the military service, but
Yeah, they have an attitude. I spent a year in Israel.
Very nasty. Very
the
nasty.
girls there are very like they're not welcoming, you know.
For
Like
sure
they're
not.
very. Oh my god, I was in Aruba like a month ago, right? And I met this cute girl, whatever, at like one of like the restaurants. I walked up to her and said what up, and like said her name. Like I was like, what's your name? And like I'm like, oh, are you Jewish? And then like, but before she even responded to me, like she was just like very, her energy was very like, ugh, don't talk to me. But then as soon as I said what my name was, Avi, she like her eyes lit up and she's like, you're Jewish? And then like, cause like, what are the odds you're in like a random country or you're gonna meet another Jewish person? It's the odds aren't that high. And like, if I hadn't said that I was Jewish, she would have been so ignorant.
Oh, that's different. No, wait. No, I'm saying mean to people who are Jewish. I understand if a girl's looking for a Jewish guy because she doesn't want to piss her parents
No,
off.
it was because she was Israeli, and like they're very like tight knit within like talking to other Israelis
That's
because
not a
they
good
find that it's the
example.
most
Because
relatable.
girls aren't as loose as you want them to be. I don't know if that qualifies them as.
Yeah, I guess, but still,
problematic.
like you're in an area where you're like supposed to be social, and you're not like you're.
Oh, I hear you. No, I meant look.
Not necessarily, because like I'm Russian, my wife's Israeli, and then she didn't have problem talking to me.
Yeah, I mean, I dated an Israeli from LA, so, but different. I don't know. It's hard. It's so hard to like find the right woman, like when you have certain standards or whatever. Like because like you're not just because she's a 10 out of 10 when it comes to her personality, but on the outside she looks like Shrek. You know what I mean? You're not gonna like
all right.
disregard that. Like you want your kids to.
All right, this is a family show, like Shrek. Okay, no, I hear it.
You know what I
There's a
mean?
joke like this, by the way. I don't know how good your Hebrew is.
Not good at all. I could read without Nikudo, but I don't understand what I'm reading.
Yeah, I don't want to translate this. So for those who know what it means, they say that a Goya. No, wait. What do they say? They say that a Jewish girl is a Chaya, like an Goya is a Machaya. Have you heard about this?
I don't know those.
Whatever. This is what they say. It's whatever. They bring it on themselves, unfortunately, and it's because of feminism. Feminism has destroyed the woman, the Jewish female, both religious and secular.
Thank God I've never encountered a Jewish feminist.
What? There's no way. There is no way you haven't.
No, I mean, I swear, like I'm a strong believer in like you are like you attract the right person, because every girl that I've ever dated or met like has been super like in her divine femininity, so to speak, and like was super on the whole traditional like mindset of how a man should treat a woman, like like this whole concept of how like girls and guys should go 50-50. If a girl told me that a girl and a guy should go 50-50, I might as well sit passenger princess and she like holds onto my thigh, opens the door for me, because like I'm super the type of person that's like I'm the provider, she's the one that nurtures the family.
No, I agree with you 100%. But most Jews would disagree with you, unfortunately.
Really?
They're very much on the left.
They're not like that in Toronto.
Really? That's interesting.
Not at all. Even
I'm glad
maybe
to know
that's probably like a New York thing. Like I don't know.
Probably.
Even in LA, they're very but the people in LA that are Jewish are the most minimal Jew.
I don't know how you found somebody who's not a leftist in LA. How is that even possible?
I mean, people that it's just my circle of people. Like we're all like into like e-commerce and like business stuff, and like all the girls are under like boss woman type stuff. But at the same time, it's contradicting. It's ironic because they're their own
Ben
CEOs.
Shapiro from LA, right?
Yeah, yeah, he's from LA originally.
But that's where he moved.
I'm from Toronto.
Yeah. All right. Well, so let me hook you up here. All right. If there are any single ladies out there from
no, we're not gonna do that.
Why?
I
like my friend Avi here.
I already looked at the list of viewers.
No, you hear like stalking.
I'm joking. Wait, is that the people that are like on? I don't know how much TikTok. I'm not really on TikTok like that, but is it the people on the top? That number that says 40, is that the people that are currently viewing?
Yeah, watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly guys. I really swing out.
You don't want to hook up with guys? What's up?
All right. I tried. Anyways, if there's any girl, just hit him up. Send him a
Asher, you know what's funny? Like, it'll be like those fake looking accounts that are like girls that like
catfish.
Doing. No, they're not even like, you don't know. Like, I'll see, like, I'll come across a few people that will follow me, or like I'll see on a live, and like they'll have like some random profile picture, right? And we'll end up talking on the TikTok Messenger, and they'll be like, add me on Instagram, and then it's like a completely like normal person. They just try to like be very private with like their profile and like low key, you know. So you never know who you're really talking to, or
yeah, no, I hear you.
You know, you gotta have that benefit of the doubt.
All right. So, anyways, you sound like a very healthy young man, and I mean, I wish more Jews were like you. So
I don't know. I just try to be open minded. You know, I'm not like.
No, I hear you.
Do you at the end of the day? Like, I don't. As long as it doesn't affect me, you know.
All right. So follow me. Follow me.
I just followed you.
And everybody, follow me, and we'll continue again tomorrow. All right. Thanks, guys.
Anyways.